I've just learnt that today is World Vegan Day, right? And the reason we're talking about this is that there's a study which has found that if on meat you put a cigarette-style warning, so a picture of rotting liver or the perforated lung or whatever it happens to be, the way you have in cigarettes, it could help reduce the amount of meat consumed and save the environment.
Processed meat is indeed carcinogenic due to added ingredients such as nitrates, but some eco-activists are calling for warning labels for all forms of meat, with arguments ranging from animal cruelty to saving the planet. So what exactly is the argument, and is this a sensible thing to do? Margarita Sachkova is from the animal rights group PETA and backs putting these kinds of labels onto meat.
And personal trainer and self-professed meat lover, that's Reece Mander there, who says that no, this is a bad thing. There's no proof that natural, unprocessed meat causes cancer. And here they are in the studio to talk about this. But you see, Reece, my point is that if the meat is processed and the bacon looks lovely, apparently the more lovely the bacon looks, the bacon should look white, right? And the bacon, when it looks red, it's covered in nitrates. And the thing that gets me again about the uselessness of government, again, if these things are really harming us, never mind the environment, but killing people, there should be a warning saying, well, it shouldn't be allowed actually, it should just be stopped. You shouldn't have red bacon, you should have white bacon.
So you'd like one of these labels on your bacon, maybe?
No, I'm saying you're missing my point. My point is, before we even get to this stage, it's not about the environment, it's about people are being allowed to be poisoned, given cancer, dying, because government ain't doing anything about the food lobby. That's what I'm saying.
I think there's a couple of things. First, not all meat is the same. So if we're looking at grass-fed beef and we're looking at nitrate-induced bacon, it's not the same thing. So, to label all meat under the same category is incorrect. Do we need to add nitrates to bacon? No, you can buy bacon without nitrates.
The vast majority of meat is processed. The vast, like 95% or so.
Of the meat that people eat, or the meat that's available?
The meat that people eat.
Then I think we need to make better choices. Yeah. But to lump it all together and say that meat is bad for you or meat is carcinogenic, it's not true. It's the substance you add to the meat is carcinogenic.
Margarita, you're not so much worried about whether people live or die, you're worried about whether the planet lives or dies.
I mean, I care about all these things, and I absolutely support this initiative. And, we know that, such labels on cigarettes, they really prevent people from smoking, as they have access to information about all the damage that smoking causes to their health. So it makes sense to add similar labels to meat, because people deserve to have this information, and consumers can just make very informed choices, whether they are buying something that is potentially giving them risks to their health. And we all know that meat is linked to cancer, to diabetes, to heart disease. And essentially, we are all adults here. We are talking to consumers who deserve to know that also meat has impact on our environment.
But you're attacking the wrong people, aren't you, really? You're attacking farmers in Lincolnshire and Aberdeen and Coleraine and whatever, where actually they're not big enough to constitute much of a problem in methane and whatever. You're killing an industry. The Irish beef industry, for instance, and dairy industry is being killed the way it is in Holland as well, because of protests from people like yourselves. What we need to be doing is looking at the USA and Brazil and Argentina, who farm, Isabel, on a rate that we couldn't even comprehend. Hundreds of miles, farms that are just full of cattle.
I mean, what about things like chicken? When I go to buy chicken, I'll always look for something that I know that's been free range or corn-fed or organic, because I don't want to ever consume chicken that's been raised in some sort of battery farm. And I'm also very aware of the slurry that's being produced from chicken farm and going into our rivers and destroying our rivers. Do we need to be more conscious and more aware, and how do we make that happen if we're not having these labels? Because, that's been one step, hasn't it, to say things are free-range organic. What about if we had pictures of battery farms on our chicken? Would that maybe make us think twice?
Yes, maybe. I'm all for people eating high-quality meat. I think you should buy the best meat you can afford to buy, because the animals are treated better. I don't like people buying cheap quality meat where possible. But, you can eat different parts of the animal as well. It's not always the most expensive part. People need to eat more of the animal. I think we should use more of the animal instead of just cutting the steak off the cow. I think we can use all the parts. And traditional cultures used to do that. They used to eat all parts of the animal.
Margarita,
yes, of course.
Does that ring a bell with you in any way, that a reduction would be fine, or people choosing a different type of meat? Or what is your argument? Is your argument all meat, intensive meat farming, get rid of it?
I mean, unfortunately, cruelty is still the norm on all farms, including farms in the UK, and there have been numerous of investigations by PETA and by other groups that prove it. And even on the farms in these countries, piglets have their tails cut off with no painkillers whatsoever. They spend their entire lives on concrete floors, and when they're fat enough to be sent to slaughter, they're forced into trucks to endure terrifying journeys to abattoirs, where they are shot in their heads, where they're gassed to death. And whenever you have a piece of meat on your plate, you deserve to know where it came from, and you also deserve to know that what environmental impact it has. And we know that Oxford University researchers said that one thing that any human being can do to reduce their carbon footprint is essentially to cut their intake of meat. So why not to give it a go? And actually, no one really needs to eat meat. There are so many other foods, and no one needs to eat processed food as well. You can buy, instead of meat, you can buy all the pulses, and you can buy tofu, lentils.
That's a massive effort, Margarita. I don't care what you say. I mean, it's what's pushed at us. We're short of time. We're short of choices. Try and go to a motorway service station and eat healthfully. I defy you to do that. And so it goes on. Supermarkets rule the world, and price rules the world, and therefore they will feed us crap, basically.
I mean, to say that we don't need to eat meat is incorrect. We have a stomach full of acid.
We do?
Absolutely. We're designed to eat meat. That's why we have an acidic stomach. The vegetables work lower down in the colon, and meat is digested as part of the stomach, and then the pancreas produces enzymes. If we didn't need meat, we wouldn't have those body parts. So we're designed to eat both meat and vegetables.
And there is also a carbon footprint to not eating meat. I mean, a lot of people would say, for example, they'll have avocados, they get flown halfway around the world, or the production of tofu in itself, the manufacturing of it, has a footprint as well. There's no easy answers in all of this, but I think, would it be fair to say that all of us need to be better educated, make better choices?
I mean, it's hard to be more educated when people say that all animals endure suffering, on every farm around the world when we produce meat, which is not true. You can bring any...
It is true. Go to PETA.org.uk, watch these investigations for yourself. I would be glad to say they're not. But
you've investigated every farm.
We've been on farms, well enough, we've been on farms all across the country.
So how many farms?
We've investigated egg industry, our other organizations investigated dairy.
But Margarita, without farms, there wouldn't be, these animals are brought into the world effectively to be eaten.
We are breeding these animals, we are causing this problem, and we are bringing more suffering to this world, we are killing more animals to this world. You mentioned pollution, we are mentioning enormous carbon footprint that these animals bring. And if one person just swaps beef burger to a bean burger, it would have less carbon footprint. It wouldn't contribute to suffering of animals. And every vegan, it spares lives of 200 animals per year. 200 lives per
Reece,
year.
Margarita will say that 3 out of 4 emerging diseases are coming from animals. So that's bad news. That tells me that you say we were born to eat animals, but that sort of suggests maybe we're not.
I don't know where that data is coming from, but I would say that the less meat you eat, the sicker you become. You just try eating carbohydrates constantly, you'll get diabetes very quickly. The meat and the fat that come from the animals slow down the digestion of carbohydrates. You just eat pure carbohydrates, you will get diabetes.
Jason Green's got in touch. This story is absolutely ridiculous. It just shows what a loopy country we now live in. We've eaten meat since time started. Come on, what a joke. And I have to say, lots of emails reflecting that kind of view.
Well, when we know better, when we have research that backs it up, and the evidence that red meat, processed meat, is linked to cancer is irrefutable.
But this is the exact problem.
Red meat that is not processed meat. Food is burning our planet.
But
it's irrefutable.
Not all red meat.
These are just facts. These are just facts. We want people to know the facts, and then they can make their own choice.
Just because you say it doesn't make it a fact. All red meat is not processed. And to lump the two together is a problem.
It's not me saying that. It's World Health Organization that puts red meat and processed meat in the category that causes cancer. So people deserve to have
I must admit, I agree with Margarita on this one, Reece. I am shamefully a meat eater, although
I don't think you should be shamefully eating meat. We've eaten animals.
I've actually gone and bought fruit today just because she's coming into the studio because I thought it would be too embarrassing. But World Vegan Day, if you can do one thing today, or it's World Vegan Month, isn't it?
It is,
as well.
It is World Vegan Month, and I would encourage everyone to be curious about it and to try vegan. And honestly, we've been talking about health today a lot. And if you haven't had your breakfast yet, there have been just this research that has shown that having just one piece of bacon every day increases your risks of having bowel cancer by 19%. Yeah. So if you can swap this bacon with something else, you'll do better for your health, you'll help the animals, and you'll be kinder to the planet.
You see, Reece, I agree with you where you're saying that not all meat is processed, but we don't have the choice. These food companies and governments are allowing all the rubbish through, and the rubbish is cheap. And could you imagine what you're eating on a Friday night from a kebab van? Can you imagine?
Yeah, I don't recommend you eat that, but what I'm saying is you can vote with your wallet and you can pick the better quality things, and the supermarket will give you what you want. If people start eating...
Cost of living crisis.
Certain parts of the animal are much cheaper. The offal that we're talking about, we used to eat that traditionally. You know, steak and kidney pie, liver and bacon.
On Saturday we had tongue. Have you ever seen a cow's tongue?
Tongue growing up.
In a pot, a massive
thing. Really hate it.
I really like it. It depends how you cook it.
Liver, kidneys.
These are all the parts of the animals that we need to consume more of, alongside the meat, and then we need to eat vegetables. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be eating vegetables, but we need to eat both.
Very interesting talking to you. I think it'll get people... Margarita, I do want to be vegetarian, and I'm shamefully not vegetarian. And what's the difference between vegetarian and vegan? What's the difference?
Oh my goodness, we've got time for that.
Well, there must be some quick difference between vegetarian and vegan.
Essentially, I would encourage everyone to go vegan and not to consume any animal products at all. Yeah. And if you're concerned about your health, watch this documentary called Game Changers.
Game Changers.
Yeah, that shows you all the prominent athletes who are embracing plant-based diet.
I have watched that, and I have heard scientists question some of the science involved.
All of the science involved in that.
Guys,
anyway, we could debate this all day.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Margarita Sachkova and Reece Mander there.